Hey, good morning. Happy Friday. Congratulations to all involved. We're happy to have you here for the next 3 hours. 615-737-1045 is the number. Jackson and me until 1 o'clock. Lucas is back from vacation on Monday. You can give us a call if you're so inclined. 615-737-1045 is the number. Get on in there. We can talk Titans. We can talk Vols. We can talk Preds last night. A disappointing result, but some promise shown certainly as that game went along. I know that I got several tweets, Jackson, blaming me for being in the building to watch the Preds go down 4-1 at the as that game went on through the first two periods, and then they tried to rally back, almost tied it up at the end of regulation, but off the post there at the end. You had a couple of really good chances, but unfortunately, they dropped the home opener at Bridgestone Arena. They're back in action tomorrow at Detroit.
I almost texted you and said you're cursed.
The curse lives on. The curse lives on. I don't know what to do. I like going to hockey games. I want to enjoy. I want to see wins. I want them to win. I really do. And just every time I show up, no matter where I sit, no matter what part of the building I'm in, no matter how long it takes me to make up my mind about whether I want to go to the game or not, or who I'm going with, they lose. Makes me insane. Anyway.
You were telling me you sat with us normal people this time.
Did I sit with the normies?
I hate you.
You set me up for failure. I was, I think, section 114, row double J, which I thought was like the back half of the lower bowl, but we were actually a lot closer than I thought we were going to be, so I was excited by that. But yeah, no Lexus Lounge or anything like that. I was amongst the people. And I was very quickly reminded, because it's been a long time since anybody charged me $65 for two tequila sodas. I mean, they were doubles, but still, like I every year, because, Titans games, I'm not obviously drinking, and I'm there for work, so it's a whole different situation. But like, I get an annual reminder of, oh my God, how much do people pay for these concessions and especially booze at the stadium? I was floored. It was a very embarrassing moment for me to look down at the credit card reader and say, what? Anyway.
Did you add a tip?
Sure. Oh yeah. No, I always tip 25% out of fear. If for no other reason, fear of the internet. But because people deserve it. And service industry jobs, they don't make nearly enough money anyway. And also save the teachers, the whole thing, right? 615-737-1045 is the number.
Really trying to recapture your image.
I'm doing my best. See, this is what happens when you leave me alone for too long. This is why they had to put Lucas in studio. You revert back to your base instincts, and my base instincts aren't great, but we're happy to have you here with us throughout the course of the show. And it's a huge sports weekend, sports equinox officially upon us. You had playoff baseball last night. You got more playoff baseball tonight. Hockey is back. Basketball is right around the corner. You got college football, high school football, pro football all weekend long. It's going to be awesome. And there's some huge games with huge consequence, especially for the football weekend. Jackson, Vols need to win. Titans need to win. I don't know who needs the win worse to keep their season afloat, but I almost think, because people are going to pay attention to the Vols even if they lose to Florida. For the Titans, man, you're teetering on, okay, we'll just find something. And this has been the case after the 0-3 start. You got to keep yourself relevant, especially in the local sports scene, because now that hockey is kicking back up and people have other things to do with their time or other places that they may want to spend their discretionary income or all those things, you got to keep people's interest. And this is a huge divisional game. This is their first divisional game of the year. So for Tennessee, you understand college football playoff implications on the line. Have to beat Florida, have to beat Bama. Titans, we understand because we've talked about it all week long. The division is not winnable, I don't think, though that Nico Collins injury is not insignificant. We haven't really talked about that yet. That the Texans' number one wide receiver went on injured reserve earlier this week. And C.J. Stroud is great, but we'll see how well they hold up with that kind of a schedule with the rate of attrition that you could expect for any football team. So it's pretty early on, especially in the NFL season, to make any determinations about any of these teams. Even to say that the division is probably not winnable is too strong now that I think about it. But this one is critically important because if neither of these teams win, Jackson, we're talking about the last really relevant football weekend that we'll have, and it's only the second week in October. So you need to see the Titans and Vols get it done on Saturday and Sunday, respectively. 615-737-1045 is how you chime in. We are going to have Coach Mack, Coach Dave McGinnis of Titans Radio. He'll preview that matchup with us. Of course, we'll go through the college football playoff implications of the weekend as well. Quickly, before we start with some phone calls, because I know a lot of you guys want to weigh in on both of these games. They're really, really critical. Our friend Lisa Manning handed me this flyer for a golf event that they're doing to benefit Proverbs Animal Rescue here in town. Blaine Bishop is going to be a part of it. They've got a lot of different, James Neal, the former Nashville Predators player. They've got a bunch of people who are going to be participating on October 21st at Hermitage Golf Course to benefit Proverbs 1210 Animal Rescue. You can go to proverbs1210rescue.org for more information. You can put a team together or you can come solo and help raise money for the people who are helping these animals. They rescue them from non-kill shelters. They find them forever homes, which you love to see. So proverbs1210rescue.org. Also, first takes at TSU. Eddie George is walking out onto the set right now. It's the rare time that we actually have sports on in the studio while we're doing the radio show. This is the one day I'll excuse you for not putting The Price is Right on TV, because this is really cool.
Yeah, I was interested to see this, so I didn't change it.
When did Cam Newton start working for ESPN? Is that new?
Today.
Literally today?
Today is his first day.
Today is his first day as an ESPN commentator.
He's going to appear on First Take. He's going to do segments on First Take.
So you've got Stephen A., you've got Eddie George making his way to the desk, you've got Shannon Sharp, and Cam Newton, and I'm not familiar with the female host who's on First Take right now, but they got a really cool thing going at TSU today. Really cool to see ESPN. That's why I love College Game Day, and I love that ESPN goes out of their way to highlight every level and every facet of, whether it's game day at Cal, right? And you saw how crazy the environment was at Cal. That's pretty unique. They haven't gotten to experience that very often, and when given the opportunity, you see how much they take advantage of it. First Take at TSU is a really cool thing as well, so fun to see. 615-737-1045 is the number if you want to jump in. Let's start with Dylan.
Yes, sir. How are you guys doing?
Good.
Good. Just a quick question for you. When do you think it's time the Titans, stop trying to develop a quarterback and maybe just go on and let's see, like what Mason Rudolph has. He won, 3 games, last games with the Steelers in a row, one of which was a playoff game, if I'm not mistaken. And then it seems like the team did really well against the Dolphins when he came in. O-line seemed like they played better. And above all, they won the game. So I just wanted to get y'all's take on that.
So when you say stop trying to develop a quarterback, stop trying to develop Will Levis, like when do you want to pull the plug on the experiment is basically what he's asking there. When the locker room checks out. And I can't give you a read on that, but this is and it's a cliche, but it's a players' league for a reason, and it's never been more a players' league than it is right now. Once you see guys start to, and I'm not talking about from a media perspective, because they're not going to actively, take anybody out. They're not going to tear down their teammates in front of television cameras or anything like that. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about as a coaching staff, as a front office, as an organization. When you start to recognize, okay, one, I don't know, as a coach, that this player gives us the best opportunity to win games. And two, I can no longer sell, hey, just give us another week, guys, and we'll really start to buy in here. Because then you run the risk of coming off as disingenuous to a bunch of dudes who will smell out fake faster than you can't believe. You have to be upfront. You have to be honest. You have to be aware of the situation as a coaching staff. So when, I can't tell you when. I don't get the sense that the locker room is out on Will Levis. Hopkins, we talked to him yesterday. He called Will Levis a warrior about trying to get ready and get out there. Calvin Ridley has been a really good soldier about lack of opportunities for him in the passing game, despite what he's getting paid. Understandably, you have to find ways to get that player involved more. He can really help you. He is paid not just, he's paid for a couple of different reasons, but he can be a game changer. Maybe not a la Justin Jefferson or Jamar Chase, but this guy can legitimately affect the game for you and allow opportunities for other guys once you start to put it on tape. Hey, Calvin Ridley can hurt opposing defenses here. All right, we'll try and take away Calvin Ridley. Then DeAndre Hopkins, who's as healthy as he's ever been, can start to take advantage of those opportunities. Or whether it be Traylon Burks or Nick Westbrook-Akina or the tight ends and try and get this passing game going. But when we get to keys of the game later, I'm going to tell you, a part of it is I don't want to see Will Levis throw more than 20 passing attempts this week. But we'll save that for noon. We'll get more of your phone calls on the Vols and the Titans. Preds as well. Preds home opener last night. They fall 4-3 to the Dallas Stars. Showed some promise, but ultimately the lack of UC Saros in goal seemed to cost them the opportunity. They get down in a 4-1 hole. We'll get Alex Daugherty of the Tennessean on the show to get his perspective on what this season should look like for a team that's definitely invested in being a contender this year. I'm Buck Rising. It's 104.5 The Zone. Hey, it's Buck Rising. When plumbing issues strike, you need a team that's fast, efficient, and reliable. That's why I call Benjamin Franklin Plumbing the punctual plumber. They guarantee if there's any delay, it's you we pay. Your time is valuable, and they understand that. But it's not just about showing up on time. Benjamin Franklin Plumbing are experts in keeping your sewer and drain lines clear. If you've got a slow drain, it might be more than just a typical clog. Their experts use advanced camera inspections to pinpoint problems deep in your pipes. No guesswork, whether it's cracks, clogs, or even roots in your sewer line. They'll find it fast and help you avoid costly repairs. And they don't stop there. From leak detection to hot water heater repairs, they handle it all with 100% satisfaction guaranteed. Plus, they're available 24/7, so you're never left waiting when you need help the most. Don't let plumbing problems become disasters. Call Benjamin Franklin Plumbing today or visit BenjaminFranklinPlumbing.com for fast, reliable service. Welcome back to the show. We are fueled by Hattie B's Hot Chicken. That's our boy Jelly Roll. You can find me if you want to, Jackson, but his new album dropped today, and I think we should play a couple of tracks off of it because we're excited for him. That song, of course, is Get By. It's off the new album that just went live today. There's, 22 tracks on the Beautifully Broken album. So congrats to Jelly. I know he's really excited about that. Always good to see local people succeeding. No fine? No fine. Look at that. We got you waved it off like an incomplete pass on. I love that.
It was a safe call.
Either way, I'll take it. 615-737-1045. Jonathan Hernandez is demanding a fine on the YouTube chat. Too bad. So sad. I didn't mention that I got the album sent to me last week. That you can find me for. You want to find me for that? I just want to find. All right, let's get some phone calls in here before we get Alex Daugherty of the Tennessean to talk about the Preds' loss last night. Let's start with Micah.
Hey, guys. So I had a question for you guys about the Vols. So first, I think tough loss this last weekend, but I think we saw some of the kinks that we thought we would see at the beginning of the season come out in that game. But I wanted to ask you guys, if the Vols win this game this weekend, is it like now we probably think that Billy Napier is going to get fired, but do you think he gets fired after this game if the Vols win? Thanks for taking my call.
Oh, always good to hear from Micah. Micah, of course, is a far more broadcast professional than I am, even though he is very young in his career. You can check out the All AULL Vols podcast that Micah hosts on a regular basis. He does football, he does basketball. He's really, really talented. So anyway, good to hear from you, Micah. Does Billy Napier get fired if they lose to Tennessee? A part of me doesn't think so, but this is a huge moment for Billy Napier in particular. If, let's say, the unthinkable happens, let's say disaster happens. And by the way, like, we'll get into Tennessee more after we have Alex on, but this should be a game that they handle with ease. Florida is not a quality opponent, even if they're coming off a win. So they should be able to handle it. But if the unthinkable happens, if disaster strikes and Tennessee loses at home to this bad Florida team, then Billy Napier's just bought himself a whole hell of a lot more leash with the University of Florida, because that would be a pretty big upset in the landscape of the SEC this year. So does he get fired if they lose to Tennessee? No, because they're not favored in the game. There are no real expectations. Unless it like really falls off the rails for him down the stretch, I feel like he gets till the end of the season. Let's pivot to some Preds talk. Preds fall last night, their season opener at home at Bridgestone Arena. 4-3 to the Dallas Stars. They are on the road tomorrow facing Detroit. And Alex Daugherty, the Tennessean, was on site last night to cover it. Hey, buddy.
Hey, Buck. How are you doing?
I'm great. Other than I appear to curse the hockey team anytime I go to watch them live. I haven't seen a win. Jackson said I've seen a win at least since COVID, but the last one that I can remember was pre-COVID.
Yeah, I thought that was the case. I feel like I remember you going to a lot of losses in the past. Is that so? When was the last win you went to?
I had shaved my head because I lost a bet with the Midday 180, which meant Midday 180 was still on air, and this was after Tennessee and Indiana in the Gator Bowl. I want to say it was like 2019, or the February of 2020, before the pandemic shut everything down.
Wow. Yeah, that was a while ago.
It's been a while.
Things are different then. A lot of different players on the ice, new coach, new general manager, and everything since then. So it really must be you, Buck.
People call me self-involved. There's reasons for it. Anyway, what we have last night is a lot of new players, a lot of new faces, not a new coaching staff, but trying to incorporate all the new pieces and parts, and a new face in goal who I don't want to pin it all on Scott Wedgwood last night. UC Saros obviously missing some time with the lower body injury, and you reported yesterday that Wedgwood would get the start. I don't want to pin it all on him, but it felt like he was a pretty big reason of why they were down 4-1 and had to kind of dig themselves out at the end.
Yeah, I think the lead to my story kind of tells it. It was that a major offseason acquisition for the Predators played a big role in the loss on Thursday, but it's not the ones that people wanted to see. It was Scott Wedgwood, not Steven Stamkos, not Jonathan Marchessault, not Brady Shea. I don't necessarily want to pin it all on him, But the fourth goal in particular was a bad one. The first two that he allowed were within about 20 seconds of each other, and they were really high danger shots off of transition where the defense just wasn't back yet, and they were high danger chances. So I can't blame it on him. The third goal maybe more of his fault than the others, but the fourth goal was just bad. It was a low speed shot from the outside that wasn't really all that screened, and he just didn't see. And that fourth goal was the difference. Here's the thing about that people need to maybe be ready for. I think it's going to take a while. I think it's going to take a while for this to happen. Now, they need Saros back, of course, but even with Saros back, it's going to take a while for Stamkos to get involved. It's going to take a while for Brady Shea and Luke Shen, if that's going to be the pairing, to build chemistry. It's going to take a while to figure out who should center the line with Stamkos and Marchessault, because Andrew Burnett switched things up last night. So you might have like a month or two of just kind of average hockey, losing games you shouldn't, luck not going their way, until we see this sort of everything come together the way Barry Trotz wanted it to when he made these moves.
Alex Daugherty of the Tennessean is our guest. You can follow him at AlexDaugherty1. You can read him at Tennessean.com. So afterwards, what was the dynamic like with the players, understanding that those were self-inflicted wounds and that they gave themselves a chance at the end? Alex, I left at 4-2, but saw that they obviously scored that third goal, and then Stamkos with 15, 16 seconds left had an opportunity, had to go off the post. So there are signs of the offense that they paid for to acquire this offseason. So I guess I wonder what the players' thoughts were on it after the game.
Yeah, it was generally pretty positive, more positive than you'd think. We have to remember, I know that there's a lot of Titans fans that listen to your show, but one loss in the Nashville Predators world is not like a loss in the Titans world, right? Like you have to package together 3 or 4 wins or losses before you can really get a good understanding. Now, you can overreact all you want, but I'm not saying that's what you're doing, but the players are not.
You're usually right though when it's okay. You'd be right more often than not. It's fine.
But the players certainly weren't. So when people see things like, the players saying things like, we did some good things, we generated some good offense, I think in last night's case, I think they were probably true, because I would say that for a lot of the first period and a lot of the third period, the Predators were the better team. Now, the second period was when Scott Wedgwood let in 4 goals on 7 shots. In fact, I think 3 of the goals were on consecutive shots. He let in goals on 3 consecutive shots. So it wasn't a good second period, but I think you saw enough to see, the Stamkos, he hit the post with about 12 seconds left, and it was a very loud post. I mean, it's one of those things where when players hit the post for the puck, it really just tells you that it really is a factor of luck, because it means you beat the goalie, first of all. You beat the defense, you beat the goalie. But for a few millimeters, it goes in. And it's not something that even the best players in the world can always predict, if they're going to hit the post and it goes out, or if it hit the post and it goes in. So, and there were 3 posts in the late in the third period. Tommy Novak hit 1, Ryan O'Reilly hit 1, and Stamkos hit 1. So, I think that things are looking pretty good. Dallas is a really good team. I mean, they went to the Western Conference Final last year. They're a really solid team. They've been together a lot longer than this Nashville team has. In February, when these teams meet again, I think is when it is. We'll see how the result turns out then, because I think Nashville could be building towards something over the next few months that is really, really impressive.
How long term? I know hockey is as vague as any of the professional sports when it comes to injuries and how much they disclose or obviously don't disclose. But do we have any kind of idea on how long it could be for UC?
Yeah, they just said day to day. I think the fact that he has been on the ice skating, he was in the morning skate. He did a lot with goalie coach Ben Vanderklok off to the side yesterday, so much so that we really thought there's a chance he might start. I mean, it wasn't necessarily a guarantee that Scott Wedgwood would start until he told us. But I think that there was some concern early, maybe this is just a precautionary thing. I don't think it's a major injury. I kind of think he'll play in Detroit tomorrow. And if he doesn't play in Detroit tomorrow, if they go with Wedgwood again or if they go with Matt Murray, he will probably start next Tuesday for the next home game, which is Seattle Kraken. So if he's out another game, I guess I wouldn't be shocked, but I don't think it'll be a 2 or 3 week injury or anything like that. I think he's going to be just fine.
Okay, so just quickly on the goaltender stuff, because obviously they pay Scott Wedgwood in the offseason to be the backup. They and can you walk me through exactly the timeline with Askarov and why he's no longer here? Because I know that he has also been relegated to the AHL again because of injury wherever he is right now, but I don't have all the details on how it is that he's no longer with the organization and why they made that move.
Sure, I'll try to keep it brief because there's a lot here, but basically. When Saros signs the 8-year contract extension on July 1, the first day he's eligible to sign it, he signs that. There were rumblings from a lot of the national guys, including Elliot Friedman, that Nashville was interested in signing a backup goaltender for Saros, and that kind of made some people open their eyes because it was like, well, what about Askarov? Then Barry Trotz says, Askarov is not ready yet, and we're considering him for the AHL, but he's welcome to, compete in training camp for the backup spot. That did not sit well with Askarov or Askarov's agent, so he demanded is a strong word, asked politely for a trade away from Nashville. And so then about 4 days after that request became public in August, they traded into San Jose. The Scott Wedgwood signing, I think, was a big part of that. I think when Askarov and his camp saw that Scott Wedgwood was signed, they realized, there really isn't a chance to even be in Nashville this year. So let's get him somewhere else. And now he's in San Jose. And Nashville has Scott Wedgwood, who didn't have a great debut, but, has been an okay backup goalie in the league. And we'll see where that goes. But, yeah, Askarov, it ended strangely. I think it was a really interesting experiment to see if they could have made that guy work, but it's now it's San Jose's issue.
He is Alex Daugherty. At Alex Daugherty1 is where you can follow him. Read all his Preds musings and reporting at Tennessean.com. You going to Detroit?
No, I'm not going to Detroit. I've got some family stuff this weekend, but I will be going to some road games this year. Just not sure exactly which ones, but I will be in town this weekend. All
right, buddy. Well, enjoy the time with your family, and we'll look forward to talking to you again down the road. Happy hockey season.
Of course. All right. See you later.
That's Alex Daugherty of the Tennessean breaking down last night's Preds loss 4-3 in the season opener against the Dallas Stars. But like he said, some positives to be gleaned. It was looking pretty bleak by the time that I left. When did they score the third goal? Because when I left at 4-2, there was not that much time left in the third period, I feel like. And then obviously Stamkos tries to give him a chance to at least tie it up at the end. But they were showing signs of life throughout the course of that third period. Like Alex mentioned, a couple of shots go off the post with some real quality chances, but they were doubling up Dallas as far as shots on goal. Last night, they were just struggling to get it. I mean, the goaltender for Dallas, I don't know the guy's name. I couldn't hear what they were chanting specifically last night when they did "You suck," the whole "You suck" bit. But dude was a wall. He was excellent for the vast majority of that game. And obviously, Preds not getting the same kind of quality goaltending on the other side with Scott Wedgwood in his first start since signing with the team this offseason.
Jake Oettinger. That's the Stars goalie.
Oettinger. I thought they were saying like Conger. I was like, that doesn't sound right. Anyway.
I might be mispronouncing it. It's a lot of O's, E's, T's.
Hockey names are scary. I understand.
I'm assuming it's Oettinger. It's Oettinger.
I'm sure somebody will let us know if we're wrong. 615-737-1045 is the number if you want to get involved. We'll get back to the phone calls. We'll also get some NFL headlines here in just a second. What do you got?
It's Oettinger.
Okay. That sounds more like Conger. Oettinger?
That's how it's phonetic on Wikipedia. Phonetically spelled on Wikipedia. Oettinger. I'm assuming that's Oettinger.
You listen, your assumption is as good as mine at this point. We don't need to spend more time on it. No, it was a mistake by you. You got in my ear. You had great confidence about how it's pronounced, and then you immediately said it like 6 different ways.
I say we make one up.
It's Friday. You're almost there, bud. You're almost done with it. See, it's too much solo time with me. I understand. Lucas is going to be back. It's like when mom goes away and you leave the kids at home with dad and dad doesn't know how to take care of the kids. It'll all be right soon enough. Monday, I promise. Look at you back there. You're shook. Our friend Lisa Manning is also doing a couple of cool different things. I mentioned her Proverbs Animal Rescue Golf Tournament coming up here in the next couple of weeks. She's also let us know that there is a concert for Carolina going on. If you paid attention to any of the devastation from the hurricane, if you're able to give back to any of the disaster relief organizations in the state of Florida right now, obviously East Tennessee and Asheville in North Carolina specifically impacted. There's a really cool concert that they've got going on to raise money for it. Luke Combs, Eric Church, Billy Strings, James Taylor, Sheryl Crow, Keith Urban, Bailey Zimmerman, and so many more, hosted by Caleb Presley and Marty Smith. It's the Concert for Carolina presented by Explore Asheville. The tickets are on sale as of yesterday at 10 a.m. Ticketmaster.com. All proceeds to support Hurricane Helene relief efforts in the Carolina region. So if you're financially able to give to any of these disaster relief organizations, obviously it's not just North Carolina, Tennessee, Florida as well, everybody impacted by the hurricanes, and not just here in the United States. Anything that you can do would be appreciated. And if you get the opportunity to go to a cool concert as a result of making a donation, that is always fun. Coming up next, we'll do some NFL headlines. We've got the SEC stat of the day. I'm Buck Rising. It's 104.5 The Zone.
It's time for NFL headlines with me, Jackson Williams, and Buck Rising.
I love that. It's the only thing that gives us any kind of credibility. That music makes us sound like a professional radio operation.
And we ripped it off.
That's right. Who is it? It's NBC's or
MSNBC.
MSNBC's election music open?
Yes.
Excellent.
Very regal.
Yeah, I enjoy it thoroughly. Okay. What are the NFL headlines heading into week 6, which is, of course, a must-win situation for the Titans, and a lot of interesting things happen elsewhere around the league.
The Saints are going to give the reins to rookie quarterback Spencer Rattler after Derek Carr got hurt.
There's been a lot of interest in seeing Spencer Rattler in a larger sample size. He looked good against the Titans in the preseason. And I know it's preseason, but that was his only opportunity to get out there and get after it and put some stuff on tape. South Carolina. When he was at South Carolina, and he was having, a poor, just not a great season. South Carolina's always a weird team to chronicle, and I don't know how much longer Beamer's going to last there. Continuing on the rate or the track that they've been on, they always beat teams that they have no business beating, and then followed up by just farting out losses against teams that are imminently beatable. But Rattler, when he was at South Carolina, I didn't think he was the problem. His offensive line was just so bad. So bad. So if he's got reasonable protection, I mean, I'm not saying that he's going to come out here and light the world on fire. He was a 5th-round pick, Spencer Rattler?
Yes.
Because that was the gulf between Bo Nix at 12 overall and then Spencer Rattler getting drafted in the 5th round, which, speaks to whether quarterbacks were overdrafted this year or not. But Rattler is worth watching here. Really worth watching. 2 games scheduled on short weeks for Spencer Rattler. They have been playing a lot of backups, and a lot of backup quarterbacks in the last couple of years. 3 different quarterbacks after Jameis Winston got hurt in 2021. Andy Dalton played a lot for the New Orleans Saints, so they've had to navigate quarterback injuries before. A loss for the Saints, though, would mark their longest losing streak since losing 5 straight in 2021. So they cannot afford to drop games without Derek Carr because they were 0-3 in games that Carr missed with injuries last year. So an opportunity for Spencer Rattler to show if he's got something else.
Would you like another one?
I would.
The Bears have confirmed a stealth pursuit of Tom Brady back in 2020. So did you see this on the Week 4 broadcast between the Eagles and the Bucks, where Brady mentioned that the Bears were very stealth of his recruitment of him once he was leaving New England?
He did, which is why I like the idea. Even if Tom Brady's not like super dynamic as a broadcaster, because he's not Romo, right? Like Romo has a different kind of energy that maybe some of you find annoying, but it's contagious. I like Chris Collinsworth. Chris Collinsworth is genuinely excited about the games that he's doing, and I don't doubt Brady's excitement. I just don't know that it's necessarily coming through as a broadcaster. And also, he hasn't done very many bad games just yet, so we'll see if he if he eventually gets worn down the way that Al Michaels has been doing Thursday Night Football. But
did you hear him last night talking about the? Oh, you were.
I was at the Preds game. I got home in time for like the 2-minute warning of Seahawks Niners last night.
Okay, he was talking about the new kickoff rules. He was like, well, it was about at the 2-minute warning after the Seahawks scored, and he was like, they were talking whether onside kick or kick it deep. And he goes, it looks like they're going to go with a conventional kickoff, or at least what we're calling a conventional kickoff this year.
He's doing the back in my day type of stuff in the booth.
Very much so.
That's unfortunate. So yes, I am curious to see what happens with Tom Brady if he shares more information like that, because I'm still trying to figure out what the hell exactly happened with him and the Dolphins. That whole scandal with him and Sean Payton and the shadow recruitment and $100,000 handshakes and tanking for 2 and all that kind of stuff. You ready to do some SEC stat of the day? Do you have the music? Are you ready?
1 second.
Okay. We will do the SEC stat of the day. We'll talk more about the Titans and what is going to impact them in the division. That was mean. So mean.
This is the SEC stat of the day.
Is it? Are you sure?
Yes. And the number is 550. That's how many rushing yards the Florida Gators have allowed through 2 SEC games against Mississippi State and Texas A&M. And I believe it is a key advantage that Tennessee has to take advantage of to win this matchup against the Gators on Saturday.
It's critical that you don't let an inferior football team diminish what still has the opportunity to be a playoff season for the Vols. There is no reason that I can find, and we can talk about this a little later, with what we want to specifically see accomplished by the Vols in this game, because it should be a win. It should be a win by at least 2 scores, minimum 2 scores, given that this Florida defense has not shown very many moments of competency, and the offense was suspect until just very recently against a UCF team that I think Chris Doering said they didn't expect to see win another game this year, potentially, based on the way that they play. So we haven't talked about Titans-Colts just yet, but my position on both of these games is going to be very much the same. You run the air out of the football. It doesn't have to be high-flying passing offense. It doesn't have to be, 20, 5 or 10 passes downfield that go 20-plus yards in the air or whatever, explosive plays all over the place. You can get explosive plays. You can do it in the run game. You can do it against a defense that is not sound in their assignments, not been playing very disciplined football to date. You can take advantage of a matchup advantage that is there to be had. Keep it simple, stupid. Run the football. Run the football on Saturday against the Gators. Run the football on Sunday against the Colts. We'll talk more about the Colts and Titans game when Coach Mack joins us at 11:20 today. Coach Mack of Titans Radio will get that preview there. How are people feeling about this Vandy Kentucky game?
I think it's going to be very interesting. I'm excited to watch it, which if you told me I'd be excited to watch Vandy Kentucky 2 months ago, I would have called you insane.
Vanderbilt, what?
I'm excited to see how Vandy responds.
Yeah.
And Kentucky's a solid SEC team.
Kentucky's salty. They have played above their, projections, certainly. And, whether it's going to end up, they'll make a bowl, it seems. Vanderbilt, though, also effective. It's a good matchup of Jerry Kill's offense at Vanderbilt versus this Kentucky defense that has been able to slow some of the best competition in college football, namely Georgia, as the best example. But they've shown that is capable of carrying them at moments where maybe not necessarily. They're just going to drag you into the mud, and Vandy lives in the mud. It's like Bane from the Batman movie, right? I was born in the darkness. I was formed by it, made by it. And then you rise from the ashes and you go out there and you kick Alabama's ass, and now you have to try and not let it slide on the road against a quality SEC opponent. So I love that there's a game of consequence. I love that we're talking about Vanderbilt as being relevant within conference play. And after putting the program and Clark Lee and Diego Pavia on the map against the former number 1 team in the country, Kentucky's favored. But I would love betting Vandy in this spot. I really would. I think they can do it.
It's the perfect because it's a night game like Tennessee, Florida.
Yeah,
it's the perfect second screen game.
Do you like the fact that Tennessee, Florida is a night game now? Because it used to be. I mean, we're no longer doing the CBS 3:30 or 2:30 game. This is now the SEC on ABC. Are you excited about the environment for a Florida-Tennessee game at night in Neyland in October, which is later than you're accustomed to?
Every night game. Do you know how many noon SEC games I went to as a college student under Jeremy Pruitt?
I mean, probably as many as I cover for the Titans.
Yeah, it was a lot.
Yeah.
So give me all the night games.
Yeah, that's cool. That's going to be cool to see. 615-737-1045 is the number. Coming up next, we'll get into some Titans practice observations and with a little bit of college football mixed in, games with CFP implications in Week 7 of the college football season. I'm Buck Rising. It's 104.5 The Zone.
It is 11 o'clock. Good morning from the 104.5 The Zone Studios. I'm Jackson Williams. Titans back on the practice field on Thursday, preparing for their first AFC South battle this weekend with the Colts. And the second injury report of the week looked like this. Traylon Burks back on the practice field after missing Wednesday due to becoming a father. And DeAndre Hopkins, Jeffrey Simmons, and L'Jarius Sneed all upgraded to full participants on that front. College football action this weekend continues as Vanderbilt heads to Kentucky to take on the Wildcats after last week's upset of Alabama. And Tennessee returns home to face the Gators, looking to get back on track after their loss last Saturday to Arkansas. Vol Network coverage of that game starts at 4:30 right here on The Zone. Preds opened their season at home last night with a 4-3 loss to the Dallas Stars. Preds were down 4-1 heading into the third, and a late rally was just short, and they start the season at 0-1. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, you need to visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Second hour is underway. Thanks for hanging out here with us on 104.5 The Zone. Jackson and me, we got you until 1 o'clock. Coach Dave McGinnis will join us here in just about 20 minutes from now. We got time for phone calls. We got times for your comments in the F&M Bank chat, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and on Twitch. If you want to get involved there, we'd be happy to have you. So Titans and Colts on tap. We've got college football implications this weekend to get to as well that are worth talking about, but I just want to quickly go through some practice observations. Will Levis, full participant, second day in a row. Talked to Mason Rudolph on Wednesday. He said, the typical backup quarterback line you prepare every week is if you're going to be the starter, you kind of you lose a little bit of that angst about, well, if I'm going to prepare all week long and do everything that I can and they're not going to give me the call or anything like that, like I'm not going to lose my mind about it. Like that's just a part of what this process is. That's something that he experienced early on in his career when he was backing up Ben Roethlisberger, but he understands his role here, and his role is to be the backup, and he's probably going to be the backup on Sunday. It's Will Levis's show. So the throwing shoulder, not bogging him down. Again, full participant for the second day in a row. You'll remember that Will Levis said he's fighting like hell to get out there on Sunday. So that is of note. Players who missed practice, Jamal Adams did not practice again. So that's something to, I guess, just keep in mind, but zero expectation for Jamal Adams. Keandre Coburn is important depth, though, on your defensive line, and he missed practice again with a knee. They haven't put him on injured reserve or anything like that just yet, but it is possible that is a part of the process. Traylon Burks back at practice. Of course, he missed practice on Wednesday because he had a child. And as we mentioned, congratulations to him. Cedric Gray spoke for the first time. Rookie linebacker out of North Carolina, designated for return from IR earlier in the week, full participant for a second straight day. He's excited to be back in the locker room. And I don't know how it is that he's going to get on the field right now because obviously they traded for Ernest Jones, who we'll talk more about when we get to Friday Fire. Really cool story about Ernest Jones and the work that he's doing for hurricane relief in his community, his local community to be specific. But we talked to Frank Bush about it yesterday. He was optimistic. He likes the progress that he's making. He's just, slow playing any level of expectation for a player who's going to get now time to grow, to develop, and then, at some point turn into a functional role player for this team because Kenneth Murray's only on a 2-year deal. Ernest Jones has not gotten a new contract here since they traded for him from the Rams, but I don't know. The more it's looking, I would want to keep that guy around. You already lost Azeez Al-Share after wanting to keep him, especially to a division rival. It would be tough for me to let Ernest Jones walk based on the level of play that we're seeing right now. Cole on YouTube asks, does the Simeon signing mean anything for Levis availability? No, it's just in case. Just in case, break glass in case of emergency. So, like, I don't know, if his shoulder falls off today at practice and after 2 days of full participation, he can't go, then all right. And if they, I don't know if he'll be a practice squad call-up. Because,
Do you have to anymore with the third quarterback rule?
You do. No, you know what? He still has to be on the active roster.
No, I think they changed it to where it could be.
They tried to, but it got voted down by the PA. So the owners wanted to approve that, but that I forgot that change wasn't actually like ratified. There wasn't an agreement between the owners and the NFL Players Union. So that player still has to be on your active 53. So unless Simeon is on the active 53, he would not be the emergency quarterback. So no, I don't think that means anything. But they're just taking a necessary precaution. And if Levis is healthy enough to get him off the practice squad, I don't imagine Trevor Simeon would be around here for very long. But I don't think that's anything huge for his availability. Colts, their injury report looking pretty bad. Josh Downs, Michael Pittman, Kenny Moore, Jonathan Taylor, again, did not practice, second straight day. Kwity Paye, their best pass rusher, dealing with a quad injury. He was limited. Trey Sermon was back at practice. Braden Smith was back at practice, their tackle. Ryan Kelly, their starting center. And for the first time in several weeks, Anthony Richardson was a full participant in practice for the Colts. So it's Richardson versus Levis. What would have been the better game? Flacco v. Rudolph or Levis v. Richardson? Because this has way more disaster potential. And I don't want to say that it's going to be more fun because Joe Flacco's playing legitimately great football in the short sample size that we've seen of him from last season. I know the playoff game where the bottom just kind of fell out of the Browns against the Texans this past year, and Flacco was kind of exposed at that point. But this game has weird, fun disaster written all over it with these two, especially if they're both working through injuries out there playing quarterback on Sunday.
Yeah, it's going to be entertaining. I don't know if it's going to be entertaining for Titans or Colts fans.
But for the rest of the football world, just a slop fest?
Yes.
Yeah. It doesn't matter what it looks like. It doesn't matter what it looks like. All that matters is that you win on Sunday. So, college football implications of this coming weekend, because we'll talk both Titans and Colts and a little bit of SEC football with Coach Dave McGinnis of Titans Radio. He'll join us in just a few minutes from now. There are several games with college football implications. You got the All right, are people getting canceled for Red River Shootout? I ask as I say it into the microphone after they've changed the name to not call it the Shootout anymore.
I will cancel you.
Will you?
Probably not.
I mean, we didn't get we towed the line, keeping the Diddy intro as long as we did. We probably should have made that pivot sooner, even though, again, James Brown, not exactly the most pristine figure in pop culture history. Again, don't Google it. But it is the Red River Shootout. It is Texas versus Oklahoma in Dallas. Texas now the number 1 team in the country. We'll see what happens there. Oklahoma's offense is not what Texas's is. Obviously, Quinn Ewers is going to start in this game, sounds like, which is going to be exciting to see. And then you have the marquee game, which is Ohio State, number 2 in the country, at number 3, Oregon. Ohio State getting its first real test. Have you watched many Ohio State, beyond Jeremiah Smith highlights, have you watched an Ohio State game this year?
No, but I get regular updates. I got a buddy who goes to Ohio State. Okay.
I just feel like unless you're an Ohio State fan, you haven't really been paying attention to them beyond Jeremiah Smith highlights just yet, because they haven't, their games haven't been very competitive, and their quality of opponent, it's the first time they're really going to be tested this week. Potential, I don't want to say loser leaves town game, but Penn State is number 5. Is Penn State the most fraudy team in the top 10 right now, in the AP top 10?
I do not know. I have not watched a single second of Penn State football this season.
I'm going to say they are. I have watched a little bit. I'm not going to claim to have watched a ton, but they're at USC. USC, who fell out of the rankings after a loss to Minnesota over the weekend. That's not an easy game, especially for the travel, and James Franklin's already bitching about the travel in press conferences and things like that. Shocking to no one, but still, interesting game. Number 6, Miami, is off this week. South Carolina is at Alabama. So Bama trying to get right, keep their college football playoff hopes alive. And then Florida, Tennessee. If this is an elimination game for Tennessee.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, this is why I do like, because there's still elimination elements throughout the course of the season with the 12-team playoff. It's not just the one loss that usually kills you anymore. Now, obviously, if you're a Tennessee fan, you're looking at this and be like, don't love the idea of Florida coming to town. Well, actually, I don't know. I feel like most Tennessee fans are looking at this game and being like, no, we should beat Florida.
You should beat a bad Florida team
You
at home.
should beat a bad Florida team, but you should have beaten a bad Florida team on the road, last year with Milton. And that didn't exactly go to plan. The last game, the last Florida-Tennessee game at Neyland, I was at. That was the first game, the only game that I've been to at Neyland. We made the trip out there, and that was so much fun. Anthony Richardson really making Vols fans sweat at the end. It was a great game plan by Billy Napier. It was a fun game for those two quarterbacks to kind of square off before, of course, the season would go a bit sideways for Hendon Hooker with the South Carolina game and then the injury in the midst of all that. So we'll see what happens, but a lot of games with college football playoff implications. And, of course, the new national title favorite, if not in the Vegas sports books, but in my household, is number 16 Indiana. They're off this weekend. So, no, you won't see one of the college football world's premier programs in action this weekend, Jackson. I'm sorry to disappoint you.
Have you watched a quarter of Indiana football this season?
Not a one.
Have you ever watched a quarter of Indiana football?
No. A full quarter? No. No, I have not. I have not done that. They're going to make me do it, though. if they keep winning, I'm going to actually have to turn on an Indiana game. Got like Roger Saffold tweeting me about what the Hoosiers look like, and then I have to act on Twitter like I'm watching Indiana football, which I'm not. But Tennessee, Florida, huge game this week. Stanford at Notre Dame, that shouldn't be too big of a test. And then Clemson, who's looking a bit more like Clemson as of late. They are at Wake Forest in the SEC. Number 9, Ole Miss at number 13, LSU. And you've got A&M off this weekend. Arizona at number 14, BYU, and number 12, Iowa State at West Virginia. A lot of games with college football implications, college football playoff implications in Week 7. Coming up next, Coach Dave McGinnis, Titans and Colts talk. I'm Buck Rising. It's 104.5 The Zone. The Tennessee Men's Clinic is the best resource for guys who are dealing with erectile dysfunction, and they have so many different protocols that they have available to treat ED issues. They are there to help guys who have lost all hope because, for example, the pills may not work anymore. Maybe you tried them and they didn't work in the first place. Success stories are what they love to hear, but what they hate to hear about is that guys live for any amount of time feeling like all hope is lost for treating their ED. Because there's so many misconceptions out there about treatment options, and the Tennessee Men's Clinic is here to debunk those for you. Lots of men assume that if the pills don't work, they have no other options than irreversible surgery to treat ED, because if you go to your doctor, your primary care physician, that may be the only option that they have available for you. Do not go through irreversible surgery to treat your ED before you have talked to the experts at the Tennessee Men's Clinic. Don't trust your health to an online pharmacy, and don't feel like you're out of options. They want you to understand all the options for treating ED. The Tennessee Men's Clinic protocols are patient-centered and customized to your needs. They have treatments for everything from low T, ED, treatments that increase size, stamina, and everything else in between. So call them at 615-208-9090. That's 615-208-9090, or schedule an appointment online today at TennesseeMen'sClinic.com for their Franklin or Midtown location. Good vibes on a Friday when you hear that music. Means Coach Dave McGinnis of Titans Radio is here with us to make us smarter, get us ready for the upcoming weekend. An exciting game between the Titans and the Colts, and we'll get to that here in just a little while with Coach Mack. His visits are presented by Two Rivers Ford, the South's most trusted Ford dealer. Go to Two Rivers Ford in Mount Juliet or online at tworiversford.com. So while we wait for Mac to join us, Jackson, I'm wondering if, and I know this is something that you're going to have to turn around in real time, but if it's possible, I think it'd be worth playing. That Doc Talk segment that Austin Stanley texted us yesterday from A to Z Sports. If you could pull the clip from that talking about Jeff Simmons and his UCL injury. So let me know when you have that at your convenience, and we can get to that here in just a little bit, because I'm seeing some comments, and you can call in questions about the Titans, questions about the Colts, which matchup you think benefits this team heading into this particular game, because I'm going to get into matchups that I'm looking for in particular this weekend at the top of the noon hour, but we'd be happy to take your input on it. 615-737-1045, the number, or interact in the F&M Bank chat. But I bring up Simmons in that Doc Talk segment that they do. It's a really cool thing that they do with, I want to say it's the Bone and Joint Clinic, if I remember correctly. But they've been doing it for a couple of years, and they interview real doctors and orthopedic surgeons about injuries that athletes sustain and the questions that all of us have, who of course do not have. I mean, some of you in the audience have medical expertise. I can tell you I do not. Jackson does not. So they're always really, really educational. And Austin specifically asked the doctor that they were meeting with this week about Simmons and how much that injury would affect his ability to do his job as a defensive tackle. And I think that's a question a lot of you guys are asking. Is that the doctor? We'll get to the doctor here in just a second. But R. Johnson on YouTube is asking specifically. Yesterday, he's asking me, yesterday you said Simmons told you he fully tore his UCL. For this injury to fully heal, it will require surgery. So he is going to put off surgery until the end of the season, ? Yes, he is going to put off. He told us that his advice was that he did not need surgery in the season to be able to do his job. And that's something that you'll be able to hear some analysis on here in just a little bit. Agent S. also on YouTube asked me, saying, I thought you don't like Twitter doctors. Yeah, but this isn't just a doctor who what's the name of who's the doctor, the pro football doc guy? David Chow, isn't that the dude who was in all kind of legal lawsuits with the Chargers or something like that over?
Yes.
And again, I don't remember all the specifics, so I don't want to recklessly speculate. Thank you. But yeah, the disgraced doctor that tries to make his living on Twitter and giving social media analysis is not the person that I want, but a credible person working at a actual medical institution right now, I think is completely fine to take their advice from, because that's not, quote unquote, a Twitter doctor. But based on the analysis that we're about to hear, sounds like it shouldn't require as much hand-wringing as a lot of you, I think, may be doing right now about the best player on the football team not being fully able to do his job to the best of his abilities. That's the thing that we talked about with Tracy Rocker yesterday. The assistant coaches, always great information. I don't know if I said this yesterday on the radio show or if I said it yesterday on primetime, but I think those segments with the assistant coaches are the most important information gathering moments that we get at any point throughout the course of a month. And I think we only talk to them once a month or once every couple of weeks, but they're always really, really good, because if you want the granular level stuff with the essentially teachers who are spending the most amount of time with players at their position, nobody has more close contact or more consistent contact with the quarterback than the quarterback coach, than with the tackle and the offensive line coach, the people that they spend all the time with in the meeting rooms, while the head coach or the offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator are having to spread themselves out a little thinner. You can learn a lot of good stuff. And Tracy Rocker was talking yesterday about, what their expectation is for Jeff, why they're giving him the rest that they're giving. why this is a quality opponent despite them putting their starting guard on injured reserve, one of their starting guards on injured reserve. And with the depth, though, on the Titans' defensive line, saw Sebastian Joseph Day getting a sack in the Miami game. Good to see. Seeing some quality reps out of him. He's obviously going to see an increased workload with however much time Jeff misses. Simmons' expectation, by the way, is to be ready for this game against the Colts. That's what he has continued to message, although I guess when we talked to him Wednesday, he was still prefacing, easy for me to say, it by saying, well, we're gonna work together to make the final determination. If they determine that I'm able to go without increase or risk of further injury, which it sounds like they're pretty confident about right now, Jeff Simmons should be available for the Titans. And that's big because Sweat is going to be a good player, it looks like. As long as he keeps on this trajectory, keeps his conditioning right, continues to be good soldier at every turn. He's had no behavioral issues that we've heard of. And it's not like he was like a malcontent at Texas or anything like that. But you heard plenty of people talking about the idea of T'Vondre Sweat not being on teams' draft boards because of as much off-the-field stuff as there was on-the-field reason to draft him. But what Sweat hasn't shown consistently yet is the ability to be an effective down-in, down-out interior force with pass rush. Moves really well, side to side, really, really effective player against the run. Potential for him to be able to generate that pass rush and push the pocket that way. But Jeff makes life a lot easier on everybody, on Harold, on Arden Key, on Ernest Jones, and all the different players who are trying to get involved in this team's pass rush because it is one of the lowest teams when it comes to pass rush win rate right now in football. Some comments there about Ohtani and tearing his UCL, had surgery from Kevin Leonard on YouTube. Ohtani tore his UCL, had surgery, could still play, just couldn't pitch, so you can play with it if you don't throw. And it's not like Jeff is going to have to, unless they had some trick plays with Jeff Simmons operating out of the Wildcat or something like that, or emergency quarterback. I don't think Jeff's at risk of throwing anytime soon. So with Mac, though, I'd be curious to talk about the idea of scoreboard watching. Brian Callahan brought this up with us, I guess that was on Wednesday in his press conference, that he does think there's some value in paying attention to what's going on in the divisional standings. And you would say, well, yeah, of course there's benefit in paying attention to what's going on in the divisional standings. That was not something, at least openly, that the previous coaching staff talked about. But in terms of just trying to keep the message poignant and trying to capitalize on these few opportunities, especially in the first 2/3 of the season that you have to get a divisional win, Brian Callahan says there's some value there. You haven't done enough to be satisfied with the progress that you think this team has made just based on the one win. We talked about it. Dolphins game, you leave with just as many questions as you do answers because of the quarterback situation. Well, quarterback question is answered. He's going to play on Sunday. The question now becomes, all right, how much more effective can you be as a defense? Because this game is going to be a must-win for obvious reasons. There are going to be plenty of games on the Titans schedule that are important. But this is a keep your season relevant, keep your season alive, or otherwise we're having much different conversations in the third week of October. This is the Doc Talk segment, courtesy of A to Z Sports, talking about Jeff Simmons, his UCL tear, and how it will affect his level of play.
So what he's talking about, your Tommy John's ligament is a name for the medial collateral ligament of your elbow. So much like your knee, which is also a hinge joint, you have a medial and a lateral collateral ligament. And so in a pitcher, which is how this got its name, Tommy John was a pitcher. If you have repetitive high velocity throwing, you can have a pop or an injury to that ligament. In a non-throwing athlete, we almost the majority of the time treat this non-surgically, and we allow this ligament to heal much like you would treat an MCL injury in a knee non-surgically. So the way we treat it is very similar. We brace it and we provide ways to give stability and external support for that ligament. And so we see a lot of football linemen wearing knee braces, even prophylactically. You'll see that for prevention of MCL or LCL injuries. Same concept. Oftentimes we can brace these types of injuries and get people back out on the field pretty quickly.
I think people are going to be enlightened to find out that you have an MCL in your elbow and in your knee, because you don't have an ACL in your elbow, right? That
is correct. So
is the UCL the equivalent of the ACL in the elbow?
So technically, yes, and it's actually called the medial ulnar collateral ligament. So it's the MUCL, and that's because the elbow and the shoulder are just more important joints than the knee. Yeah, that's what my really likes.
Is that right?
We like to give fancier names, more accurate.
I'm sure your knee friends over there at the Bone and Joint Institute would agree with you on that.
Yeah, I mean,
they're talking to Dr. Scott Arthur about this, and we'll see what he thinks.
Athletes, but this is it is the analogous structure to the MCL in the knee, and the elbow is inherently a fairly stable joint. It's a really deep socket for the olecranon, so you can tear a ligament and not dislocate your knee. Your elbow, whereas in the knee, it requires those ligaments a little bit more.
So that is the Doc Talk segment. I think the full thing is available up on YouTube at the A to Z Sports channel if you watch the primetime show that I do on weeknights. And Sunday nights after Titans games, you can also check out all the other original content that they're doing there. So good news. Good news based on what your level of expectation should be for Jeff Simmons to be able to effectively do his job in this game upcoming, provided that, there's not anything else that derails him at this point. What's people's vibe on Jeff right now? I haven't sensed a lot of overwhelming, not necessarily support is the word, but overall excitement about what Jeff Simmons is or is not able to give them right now. I think people were pretty disappointed about him missing the Miami game. Talking to Ramon about it, though, and listening to, as an offensive lineman, his perspective, obviously you're doing a lot of the same physical movements, a lot of your power generated from the same area, specifically your elbow. Ramon said, listen, elbow injury would make a pansy out of anybody, especially when you're banging around there in the trenches and guys are specifically targeting it, whether you're getting a helmet put on it throughout the course of a game or people are just like pushing and pulling and shoving and all these different things, especially stuff that happens at the bottom of the pile if you're trying to recover a fumble. Jeff hasn't played a full season since 2021. Context for that, though, how many NFL players are regularly playing full 17-game regular seasons?
Not many.
That's what I'm saying. I'm not to let him off the hook or anything like that, because, you guys know my position on this. He's missed a lot of time since he signed the contract. It's not necessarily about, to me, whether he's living up to his role on this team, but there gets a point where fans get fed up with, all right, one of the top paid players on the team, there's not a lack of availability this year, but he did miss he played in 12 games last year. I just don't know that the standard should be 17 regular season games. You see so few dudes, even at the position that they're protecting the most, the quarterbacks, to do it. John Eccles on YouTube says, trade Jeff for right tackle. I don't think you would want to move him. I don't think you should move him. And even if you were giving consideration to that, 2 years into his extension? This is his second season on the extension. It's too early. Again, pending the Colts result, maybe we have a different conversation. There are other people alleging in the chat, I feel like Jeff knows it's pointless to play this season with Levis. I don't think that at all. That's not the sense that I get at all. The sense Jeff looked so pissed, and it's one thing to look upset, right? But you can genuinely tell when guys are dissatisfied with not being able to get out there. They work their ass off to get to game days. It's the whole reason that the struggle of training camp and the longevity of the NFL season and how much time and effort and energy and physical pain you suffer through. And I know most people will look at them and say, well, that's what the money's for. But still, they want to play on Sundays. They don't get great joy out of practicing every day. The payoff is playing in the games. And Jeff looked so mad. Beyond watching his team and rooting for his team to have success, I know he said, people don't care about how big a cheerleader he is on the sideline if he's on the sideline instead of in the game. But there is a general discontentment from guys like Levis. Levis wants to be out there. He doesn't want Mason Rudolph to be the person orchestrating the first 30-point performance, the first win of the season in however long, 38 straight games that it had been since they'd scored 30, since however long it had been since they'd won a game as a franchise, going back to last year's season finale against the Jags that Levis also didn't play in. It's been a while since Levis has been able to help this team win a game. So the natural competitor in these guys is pushing you to say, no, of course you want to be out there. So I don't question his effort or his interest in continuing to fight through this season. But I'm just, again, I asked this question this summer. If he misses time, how long does it take fans to turn on him once he's making that money? Because that's exactly the same thing that happens to every player who gets paid and then has a couple of games where they're missing. It's the exact same thing that happened to Lawan. Jeff's situation is different. Taylor's situation is currently involved in an ongoing lawsuit for how his surgery was botched, or alleging that his surgery was botched on the ACL repair, which, essentially cost him the rest of his NFL career. So there's a lot of mitigating circumstances that go into this stuff. Speaking of Levis, Bo Hardigree, quarterback's coach yesterday, was asked a question about, how he's working on getting Will Levis to be a better game manager. Because for whatever negative connotations that term or that phrase may have carried, I think Titans fans would like to see Will Levis actively manage more in-game situations. This was Bo Hardigree, the quarterback's coach, yesterday.
It's not really examples. It's more just like your mindset.
Okay.
Kind of, like where we are on the field. Do we have points? Do we not? Where we are in the game, a lot of times too, like if it's third and long, for instance, for any kind of quarterback, do you really need to convert that? Or if you did, do you have 2 downs? Do you have that fourth down too?
Yeah.
Do you need to throw a 20-yard route when you can just complete one of the sticks and you got an easier fourth down conversion? That's the same thing. That's kind of got to have it situations versus, handling normal situations in a football game.
What percentage of the time you think Will's getting to first or second read?
Will you repeat that, sorry?
What percentage of the time you think Will's getting to first or second read?
Good percentage. He's doing a good job. And that's all you focus about. You take the plan, you get your eyes in the right spot, and then you go from there, find a completion.
And one of those 2 guys is probably winning?
One of those 2 guys probably winning. We would expect them to win, yes.
The game manager part that you mentioned, that you want guys to be at times with a guy like Will, such a big arm, and
sure,
he loves to press it, push it down the field. Like, is it tougher to get him into that game manager?
I think it's the intent of the play call.
Okay.
We'll go into the game, we'll have certain sections for those type of plays, and then we'll have certain sections where just spit the ball out, get a point card.
So it's really just the play calling, that's what puts him.
That puts the intent of the call is the biggest thing for it.
Gotcha.
Like when it gets called, and then overriding that, really coming back, it is not there. Where am I going to? Getting my check down, getting to our backs, things like that.
Okay.
Is there any way to destigmatize the idea of game manager? Does that still kind of have something that people say, game manager? Or is it something that is kind of developing in the day?
Sure. I think every quarterback has to be a game manager, no matter what the production is. That's your job. You touch the ball every single snap of the game that you're out there. So there is a game manager part there as well.
Having such an early bye, not always ideal, but for you guys, can that kind of be a good moment to kind of, get your feet back under you, reset as an offense, and kind of reevaluate some of the stuff?
Yeah, absolutely. You got like a small sample size, but at least you can kind of look at where we're at, what we've done well situationally, some things we can kind of dress up a little bit, keep moving forward, or some things we kind of put on ice for a little bit. So that's been good from a personnel perspective and schematics as well.
That is Titans quarterback coach Bo Hardigree speaking there about Will Levis and what they're doing to help him manage certain situations, what the coaching points are. Now, Mac is a bit delayed. I saw he just called in. We have Friday Fire coming up next. We'll take a quick break. We'll see if we can get Mac going. I'm Buck Rising. It's 104.5 The Zone. Absolutely. It's a Friday. We're excited about it. Morale is high. Energy is through the roof. Coach Mack, slightly delayed. We're going to move him to noon, and we're going to do the 3 matchups the Titans must win with Mack at the top of the noon hour. But in the meantime, I need you to call me. I need you to give me a reason to be excited about this weekend. Now, you should say, well, you don't need me to give you a reason to be excited because it's the weekend. There's football. It's the sports equinox. We have, well, not quite. Basketball not quite yet back, but we're close. Playoff baseball, Yankees advanced to the ALCS last night. You've got another game tonight. Who are the Dodgers playing? I haven't paid that close attention to the baseball postseason.
Padres, I believe.
I will double check that. But we have playoff baseball back in action. We have college football. We have high school football. We have pro football. So maybe the sports equinox is enough to make me excited. But this is your opportunity to share your moment of positivity, whether it's sports, your personal life, your work life, whatever you got. 615-737-1045 is the number. Call in, give us your Friday fire, and I will start the bidding. Jackson, you have one? I'll get to yours here in just a second. Okay, I just want to make sure. I didn't know.
I told you this morning.
Yeah, but I don't listen to you. My Friday fire is Titans linebacker Ernest Jones. Did you see this story that went out right about the time we went on air today?
Did not.
So he is the NFLPA Community MVP for Week 6. Thinking of course, of everybody affected by the recent hurricanes. We brought up the concert that Lisa Manning and our friends down the hall at the country stations are helping to support. Apparently, that to support the victims in Carolina dealing with hurricane damage. Of course, East Tennessee also impacted, but no more so than the state of Florida. Everyone affected by the recent hurricanes. This week, the NFLPA put out their community MVP. Titans linebacker Ernest Jones spent his bye week back home in Waycross, Georgia, setting up free food trucks for more than 400 people as they recover from Hurricane Helene. Now, of course, Hurricane Milton was the most recent one to hit. I mean, hurricanes are obviously terrifying. Tornadoes, to me, are the scariest thing, because they are unpredictable. I guess earthquakes are up there, but I don't know how, it doesn't, most earthquakes are pretty routine, right? And then, of course, I say this, and some terrible tragedy will happen as far as earthquakes go, but I feel like tornadoes are the most unpredictable and most destructive at any given point. What Milton had was both. I was just at the Fort Lauderdale airport not that long ago, and I looked up on the Weather Channel on Wednesday night to see tornadoes in Fort Lauderdale before the hurricane hit. Terrifying stuff, end times type of stuff. So for Ernest Jones and anybody giving back to their local communities or to the communities who were impacted, always good to see. So good on Ernest Jones for doing some good work for his hometown.
All right. You ready for mine?
Yes.
So mine is, it would probably qualify as a no-no or a dumbest thing in sports, but I think it's Friday Fire because it's 2 teams I despise. Vanderbilt and Kentucky playing this weekend. Kentucky decided to do a blackout game for this one where all their fans are going to be decked out in black apparel, and they're playing Vanderbilt. You know what Vanderbilt's primary color is?
Black and gold. Well, black.
Yeah, Vanderbilt will be wearing black helmets, black pants, and a white jersey. It's going to look like a Vandy home game.
So wait, Vandy gets to do to another team what other teams have been doing to Vandy for years?
It's going to be a technicality, but yes.
That's fine. I'd take a technicality on behalf of Vanderbilt. Makes me so sad for Vanderbilt football players and coaches and Vandy fans when they get outnumbered at their own stadium the way that they have done. And hopefully, they can continue to build upon a program-defining win against Alabama last Saturday. The most electric, that's the most electric college football game of the year. Not just because of the upset implications, but because Vanderbilt went out and soundly beat them. It was not like Alabama just kind of rolled over and laid an egg. Like Vanderbilt went out there and went toe-to-toe with Jalen Milroe, one of the top quarterbacks in the country, a Heisman Trophy candidate, and one of the best college football teams in the country, who, by the way, is still probably going to end up in the college football playoff, provided that they don't, collapse against South Carolina this weekend.
It was a genuinely fun game to watch.
Genuinely fun game. Not just because, locally we're excited for Vandy.
Although it will bring up a conversation for Alabama. So let's say Tennessee beats Alabama. They're going to look at Tennessee's losses and Alabama's losses. If, it's down to one spot between Tennessee and Alabama, would they rank an Arkansas loss higher or a Vandy loss higher?
Well, we'll have to get further on in the season before we can make that determination to see what
super far out hypothetical.
Sure, but it's a legit hypothetical. I mean,
I love these. I love doing all these college football playoff hypotheticals.
We probably don't do them enough, honestly. But that's a really, really good question. What are you trying to stir up extra BVS? What's wrong with you?
It just lives inside me.
It's like a tumor. Unbelievable. 615-737-1045, the number if you want to jump in at any point. We can get into the Titans and the Colts, the matchup that is ahead. A critical game for this particular team because, think about that, Jackson. What we've just talked about. I know we're not doing a whole Kentucky Vandy preview today, though we could. And it would be interesting because those are two legit teams in the SEC right now. But the Vols, they're going to get plenty of attention. They have college football playoff expectations. Preds are back. Preds lost last night, but there's some encouraging stuff in there beyond the backup goaltender.
They look super fun to watch.
Preds look super fun to watch, right? You're going to be interested to see what that team does.
You can find a way to watch it.
Oh, wait. Was it not on TV last night?
No, ESPN Plus.
You're kidding me. Oh, I haven't even thought about Bally Sports, like tuning into Bally Sports since it went off in like the third period of that playoff game.
Didn't it come back? Isn't it back?
Oh, I don't know. I assume people are able to watch. Oh no, that would be terrible. I haven't even thought to text Lindsay Rowley. I know Lindsay Rowley and them are doing games.
Content was restored on August 1st.
Okay, good. Because between the Braves and the Preds, man, and the Grizzlies, all that stuff that was on Bally Sports Southeast, or I guess continues to be on Bally Sports Southeast. I didn't even think about people not being able to watch the game. Was it on Bally though last night?
No, just ESPN Plus. It was a national. Yeah, that does suck.
But it's not national if it's on the app.
Technically, they call it a nationally televised game.
Oh, that's trash. This is a team that should be pushing for a Stanley Cup. They have Steven Stamkos on the damn roster now.
That's why they put it behind a paywall.
What? No. That's terrible. That would really piss me off. Anyway.
It did me when I went to go watch the Preds game.
Lowdown 612 on YouTube says it was also on Hulu. Again, you have to have, this is the thing though. This is why
I could not figure out how to get that game on Hulu.
Buddy, I'm keeping my cable subscription, not just because you can find me for this, not just because it's a tax write-off, but because it's easier. It's fine. That literally the money that I'm getting back from keeping my cable subscription because it's easier to navigate. And I pay for a bunch of the streamers too. Because you have to have all the NFL games, but if I got rid of the streamers and just kept my cable subscription and maxed out my cable subscription with all the different streamers that you can get attached to, no free ads, but my Xfinity, it's just easier for me to navigate. I don't have to figure out all these different places that I have to go to get the games, and it's not like I'm a person who's used to having to go and stream live sports. I'm not somebody who's stuck in my ways or anything like that. It's just so much easier to navigate. Anyway, 615-737-1045. How you jump in. Coach Mack will join us coming up next. 3 matchups the Titans must win. I'm Buck Rising. It's 1045 The Zone. If you've been thinking about a new truck for yourself or your business, now is the time to get to Two Rivers Ford. Two Rivers Ford has one of the largest inventories of trucks in the Southeast, and they have the best prices around. I know this because I'm a customer. I went to Two Rivers Ford to get my Ford Explorer a couple of years ago, and I could not have been happier, not just with the vehicle, because you know I love the Ford product, but with the customer service. They literally win awards for how good the customer service is at Two Rivers Ford. They've been in business here in Middle Tennessee, locally owned and operated, and still as one of the nation's top volume Ford dealers. They get business done, and they get business done in the best possible way for their customers because they always make the car buying process fast, easy, and fun. Like I said, they have one of the largest inventories of trucks in the Southeast and the best prices around. And when it comes to financing, Two Rivers Ford has great rates like 1.9% for 36 months on the 2024 Super Duty XL and XLT. So get in touch with the Two Rivers Ford non-commissioned sales team today. Two Rivers Ford is Ford Truck Central.
It is 12:01. Good afternoon from the 104.5 The Zone Studios. I'm Jackson Williams. The Titans were back on the practice field on Thursday, preparing for their first AFC South battle with the Colts. And the second injury report of the week looked like this. Jamal Adams and Keandre Coburn both remained out of practice, while Treylon Burks returned after missing Wednesday for personal reasons. While DeAndre Hopkins, Jeffrey Simmons, and L'Jarius Sneed were all upgraded to full participants. On the Colts side, Josh Downs, Michael Pittman both missed practice alongside Jonathan Taylor and Kenny Moore. College football action this weekend continues as Vanderbilt heads to Kentucky to take on the Wildcats after last week's upset of Alabama, and Tennessee returns home to face the Gators, looking to get back on track after their loss to Arkansas last Saturday. Vol Network coverage of the Vols game starts at 4:30 right here on The Zone. The Preds opened their season at home last night with a 4-3 loss to the Dallas Stars. The Preds were down 4-1 heading into the third, and a late rally was just short as they start the season 0-1-0. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, you need to visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Final hour is upon us. Welcome into 104.5 The Zone. Coach Dave McGinnis of Titans Radio will join us momentarily. We'll get you ready for the Titans and the Colts. A must-win game in Week 6 coming off the bye. Opportunity to reset, opportunity to refresh, opportunity to figure out what this team does well and kind of lean more in to that as the identity. Now, I've got thoughts on this. I'd be curious to bounce them off Mac about how this team needs to win or how this team is best equipped to win at this point. You're looking for balance more than anything. You're looking for consistency. You're looking for just a cut down on mental errors. You're looking for more turnovers on defense, always. But it's just about playing clean, efficient football against a divisional opponent and capitalizing on a game of huge importance. Hey, Mac, happy Friday, bub.
Hey, Buck, same to you. Yeah, I'm glad we were able to hook up. I had some things I had to deal with, Coach Mac stuff, so anyway, here we are.
Now, listen, Coach Mac stuff is always at the highest priority, so any time that we get for Mac, we're grateful for. Absolutely. So they get their first win, Mac, and they are trying to build off of it. It's difficult, though, because the quarterback situation, you understand, he leaves with injury. He's the thing that you're looking to see how much more he can build upon. But what they do best right now, it seems, is running the football as an offense. They're really, really equipped well that way. And the progress that they're seeing from that offensive line group in particular, as far as running the football goes, it's a pretty advantageous matchup this weekend, no?
Well, yeah, I mean, but they still need to find some balance on offense. You know as well as I do, Buck, so do our listeners, because they're very savvy, about football on this station. You've got to be able to have some balance. You can't just be one or the other. Now, you're correct in saying this. It has been most successful now on a continuous basis running the football right now, but you still got to find balance in that passing game. And I know that's got to be their goal, is to find a balance. But you're right. The running game is going very well, and the offensive line seems to have come together pretty well as far as that part of it. Now we've got to get the other part going.
J.C. Latham certainly continues to be a bright spot. I know they're it's not about individual success, certainly not that position group, but you have to be reassured if you're the Titans front office and the coaching staff, and you understood what kind of potential that J.C. Latham had, but to see him navigate this so well in the early going as a rookie has to be gratifying.
Well, it is, and I mean, you've seen him apply himself, and it's the same way with Big T. Sweat. I mean, both of those guys, came in here with a plan that was laid out to them, before they were drafted, as far as the expectations and also but the development phase that they were going to go through, and they've both embraced that. So yeah, JC has just done nothing but work at it, and still, look, he's still new at it, but you can see, progressively getting better and better, and the opponents can see that too. So they're going to start trying to probably work someplace else rather than JC, because the more that he gets play at that left tackle spot, the better he settles into what's going on. He's going to be a good player there. But the thing that I like about him is his mindset, Buck. I mean, you've been at practice a lot since he's first been here. I mean, it wasn't all, immediately, nothing was given to him, but a lot was expected of him. And so he's on the right path.
Gus Bradley's been in the NFL forever. He's run a certain style of defense, and I know they're not having the kind of year, at least in the early onset, that they would like as far as total yardage goes, but they still don't allow explosive plays as a defense, Mac. What kind of will determine, from your standpoint, this Titans offense versus Gus Bradley's defense?
Well, yeah, and Gus is a patient defensive coach. I know Gus very well. The 4-man front, and he's going to build a dome back there over the back end. And you're right. I mean, he makes you go the long way, and hoping that in a 7, 8, 9, 10 play drive that you'll make the mistake. He just is not going to give you anything easy. You're very correct in saying that. I mean, but I would say he falls into the category of a very, very patient defensive coordinator, and he's always been like that. And that's why his defenses have very seldom, when you start looking at the numbers throughout his career, give up a small percentage of explosive plays, and he's willing to play the long game as a defensive coordinator. So you've got to be willing to play the long game too, offensively, and not get frustrated with that you can't take the top off of it, because that's what he's taking away.
I should, of course, remind people that Two Rivers Ford presents Coach Dave McGinnis's visits with not just us, but all 4 shows all week long. They also are the presenting sponsor of Mac Talk. Two Rivers Ford, the South's most trusted Ford dealer, and Ford Truck Central for those of you who are interested in one of their great Ford trucks that they have on offer right now. Go to tworiversford.com for more information. Flipping the script from the Colts defense to the Colts offense, Richardson full participant. We still don't have an official determination on who's going to be starting at quarterback. Mac, it's a tough, and you'll correct me if I'm wrong about this, but from the outside, it would seem to me a tough decision to go back to Richardson right now when Flacco probably gives you the best opportunity to win a divisional game.
Well, I mean, you look at it, again, we don't know who the quarterback's going to be, and You're very right there. I was kind of dependent on this segment with you to go to your sources and find out who the quarterback's going to be.
Oh, wait, you think I've got sleeper cells in Indy, do you?
There's a sleeper cell guy. It's you. But anyway, you don't know. But you're right. They're both very polar opposite quarterbacks. Now you've got to prepare because their run game will be the same. You've got to prepare for the structure to a point. To the running back, but you've got to prepare for the structure of the offense. But the quarterback position itself, depending on which one of those quarterbacks plays, presents you different problems. Richardson, the RPO game is live, and then plus the off-schedule plays, because the guy, we know what a fabulous athlete he is. He's been throwing the football, pretty well when he's been in there. And of course, the upside to him, everybody talks about upside, but you can see his progression. Now, Flacco, a veteran, can read it out, knows progressions, all of those types of things, and still has a live arm. But they're two completely – so what their attack from the quarterback position, Buck, you are 100% right, is going to be different. So you have to prepare, as I said, for the bones and the structure of the offense, but then the way that you attack it and call the game as a defensive coordinator, depending on which quarterback is in there, is going to be different.
So with that being said, regardless of who starts at quarterback, there's going to be an emphasis on the ground game. Jonathan Taylor's not practicing. They just put Will Fries, one of their starting guards, on injured reserve. For the Titans defense, Mac, they have been excellent in terms of total yardage. They certainly held the Dolphins down effectively, though, you understood the context there. Tyler Huntley, short week, trying to get involved in that offense. Dolphins struggling at the time, but still, you beat the opponent that's in front of you. That's all you can ask them to do. This is one of the better interior offensive line groups that they will have faced during the season, and it sounds like things are trending positively towards getting Jeff Simmons back, but I wonder what you make of the trenches between these two teams, Titans defense and Colts offense.
Well, let's talk Titans defense first. I think they've done a very good job, and what was encouraging to me was the job that they did on Monday night without Jeff in there. And you saw some different players now pick up different roles and be very successful. Now, here's the thing: Indy's getting their center back, which is a big deal. And so what you've got to do, and you're right, you've got to play the guys that are going to be in front of you. But it's going to be important because knowing the type of defense that they're going to play, you cannot allow them to dominate when you're playing defense, especially to start with the run game. You've got to make them one-dimensional, and that does start up front. So it's going to be interesting to see how this matchup works. But they've got their center back, and that helps them a lot.
I don't have any insights for you on which quarterback they're going to trot out, Mac, but Shane Steichen just ruled out Jonathan Taylor officially about 6 minutes ago. We're seeing reports from Indy.
See, Buck, I knew that you had sleeper cells. I knew it. I mean, I didn't know that. I had to step away from practice after I was on another call I couldn't get off of. I had to step away, and I can go back now with some sleeper cell from Buck.
All right, listen, the more that I can do, Mac. I'm just here for you, bud. Michael Pittman, though, he's not officially ruled out. He's got a back injury, or at least that's being reported. Steichen is saying he's one of the toughest guys on the team. No insight on his official status just yet. They've also been missing Josh Downs with a toe injury, their slot receiver. Mac, Alec Pierce has certainly shown some promise. They when healthy, they have an interesting collection of skill position players, but they seem like the walking wounded right now in week 6.
Well, I mean, that's just the National Football League now that we're going into week 6. I mean, that's just what happens. Michael Pittman Jr., I mean, that guy, you start looking at his targets against the Titans in years past, I mean, it's pretty incredible. I mean, he's a guy, a big combat catcher. You're right. He's a tough dude. I coached his dad at the Cardinals. I drafted his dad and coached him. So, he's a tough dude too. So it comes naturally to him, but he's a combat catcher that doesn't have to be open to throw it to him. His targets are a lot when he's in there playing. Josh Downs also has hurt the Titans last year, from that slot position. So we'll find out and see who's ready to play on Sunday afternoon here at Nissan. But when all of those guys are healthy and going, they've got some weapons. And so you tell me that Taylor's going to be out. That makes a little bit of difference because he and Sermon are different backs. I think the run game will stay the same. But, Taylor's a special back, especially with his burst and his ability to take it all the way to the house. So we'll just see who they've got available. We can't control that. The Titans have got to control what they're doing, and hopefully they can get these gears going and play some complementary football. I heard you talking about it earlier. Play some complementary football this game. All three phases mesh together.
And don't turn the ball over at the top of the list each and every week. God knows. With the Titans and the defense right now, Mac, as a defensive as a coach with a defensive background and seeing what this defense is clearly capable of doing through the early onset, they are the one area that it looks like, or one of the areas where they could considerably improve, is how consistently they're impacting the quarterback. Not necessarily the sacks, but just generally hits, hurries, pressures, the whole package. And I'm wondering, as a defensive head coach, how you would look at this group where you have the personnel that you have. And, there's nothing to say that you can't continue to pursue. I know they worked out some edge guys, as was reported earlier in the week. There's still guys on practice squad that could be acquired, depending on how this game goes. The trade deadline is pushed back later in the year. But as far as the way that they're playing defense, how sustainable is it if they can't find ways to more consistently impact the quarterback?
Well, the first thing you've got to do to impact the quarterback, and you're right, going back to a long time calling defenses in this league, and you've got to be able to win first and second down. That's what they've got to do. They've got to be able to win first and second down. And then the other thing that has to happen, they've had a couple of instances in games past where they've gotten them in 3rd and change, which is 3rd and 7 plus, some 3rd and double digits plus, and let them convert. That cannot ever happen. That just can't happen. But to be able to go after a quarterback, really, to be able to put your cleats in the ground and go after a quarterback all of the time, you need to put them in situations with 3rd and 7 plus on a consistent basis where you can get your guys rolling and also get your rotation rolling. That's the important part of it when you start breaking down defenses. Those that are more successful on 1st and 2nd down to be able to put a stranglehold on an offense, those are the ones that can get after the quarterback most all of the time.
He's Coach Dave McGinnis, Titans Radio on the call, back at Nissan Stadium, back at home. Titans and Colts. Kickoff is at noon. We've got you covered with the pregame show. Lee Company countdown to kickoff starting at 9 a.m. before we turn it over to the broadcast professionals of Titans Radio. Buddy, thank you for making some time. Always good to chat, and I will see you in the booth.
But always a pleasure. We might need to make it at noon. This is a good segment. See you.
Yeah, pretty good. Pretty good. Maybe a little change never hurt anybody. Well, we'll see if we can't make some adjustments here in the near future. There goes the main man, the man in black, Coach Dave McGinnis. So, a couple of things I want to flesh out a little further there. What did Titans fans think they were getting as an offense when the team hired Brian Callahan? Anybody in the class?
Ooh, pick me.
Yes, you. The only other person. You're not even in the same room as me. You're in another room because, when Lucas is here, I barricade the door and I won't let anybody else in the studio.
The Bengals.
So what are the Bengals as an offense, Jackson? Flesh that out a little bit for me.
They were expecting high-flying, fast receivers and just touchdowns all over the place.
Passing.
Yes.
High-volume passing. Okay. I get that. But what if you're not the Bengals? What if you don't have Joe Burrow? What then do you become? You don't have Jamar Chase. You have somebody who's akin to T. Higgins. Hop is as healthy as he's ever been. Year 12 in the league for him, coming off a bye. Always beneficial. Knee feels as good as it ever has. Or at least as it has at any point this year. Titans fans expecting points, passing, what they would consider modernized offense after, Derrick Henry and what the experience was. But that's not what they've got. It's not what they've gotten yet. So what then is this Titans team best equipped to do? Run the air out of the football. I don't want to see Will Levis have more than 20 passing attempts in this game. I want to see here's my view of Levis right now, okay? Because whatever you thought of Ryan Tannehill and however hurt you were by Ryan Tannehill's, certainly one of his defining performances as Titans quarterback, good or bad, was the Bengals playoff game, the 3 interceptions and everything that transpired after that. The game that essentially broke this franchise for the last couple of seasons, and they haven't been able to rebound quite yet. Whatever Tannehill was, I trusted him to execute sufficiently. The playoff game certainly impacted that. Pressurized moment. Defense gives you the performance that you're looking for. Quarterback falls short in a big spot. I don't know if Levis is even going to be good enough to be the kind of quarterback that Ryan Tannehill was. Ryan Tannehill had multiple postseason appearances. Ryan Tannehill had winning records here every year, but his last year, well, I guess his last 2 years, because of course he sustained injury, then was shut down for the season, and then sustained another injury last year and had to go on the shelf. Then Levis replaced him. We understand the whole background there. But Ryan Tannehill was a winning quarterback while he was here. Levis would love to be Ryan Tannehill. And I think that Levis could be a souped-up version of Ryan Tannehill if you iron out some of the decision-making. If at the best points of the Titans, of course, when you have Derrick Henry, you're going to lean on your rushing attack. But the value of the play action and the value of the play action fake, because who's the person that every defense, any week they play the Titans, is circling first and foremost on, hey, this is the guy. This is the guy we got to take out of the game. Anybody in the class?
Ooh, pick me.
Yes, you.
Calvin Ridley.
Oh, damn it. Before this team. Derrick Henry.
Oh, Derrick Henry. My fault.
Thank you. Wrong. Fail.
Detention.
Shadows.
Ah!
That was weak. Derrick Henry is the player that everybody in the world knew, okay, stop this guy, you got a pretty good chance at winning the game. But you still had to respect it. Who is the player that opposing defenses against the Titans offense have to respect right now? Right now, it'd probably be Tony Pollard. And Pollard and Henry, Pollard's good. Pollard and Spears are good enough. Not to twist the knife on Titans fans, but Derrick Henry is, again, leading the league in rushing, having one of the most efficient years of his career, certainly in the last 6 seasons, which, again, I remind you, includes the 2,000-yard season in the COVID year. And the Ravens are, frankly, using Derrick better than the Titans were at the end of Derrick's career here. And also, it's not that much better of an offensive line. Their offensive line's not very good, but they've got better quarterback play. You have to respect both. Losing Derrick Henry and a run game that you can consistently rely upon, or that you consistently try to rely upon, probably doesn't benefit Will Levis too much. So, what do? You spend more time putting the football in the best player on the offense's hands the most often. The best player on the Titans offense right now is Tony Pollard. It's not Will Levis. I want Will Levis to facilitate. I want Will Levis to play cleanly. I want Will Levis to attempt less than 20 or 20 or less passes in this game. If he comes out with a peak Tannehill performance type of numbers, let's say 17 of 20, one rushing touchdown, whether it's a sneak or a boot or what have you, one passing touchdown, no turnovers, and you lean on the running game because you've drafted and paid a bunch of ass kickers on your offensive line, and they're pretty good at that specific thing. Play to your strengths. Run the air out of the football. Make the Colts have to stop you. The Colts are one of the worst rush defenses in the sport. They are statistically the worst defense in terms of total yardage, and they've been playing better run defense as of late. The early part of the season, they were historically bad. The corners are really bad for the Colts right now, and they had to put another one on injured reserve earlier in the week. But lean on your best players right now, or the players that you trust the most with the ball in their hand, and allow Levis to be a cog in the system more than the facilitator, or more than the guy that drives the offense. I understand that the quarterback is the most important position. At some point, you want him to graduate to be the guy that you can lean on. But in the meantime, make life easier on yourself. Make life easier on him. You have the capability to run the football against a bad run defense, go get him. No more than 20 passing attempts for Will Levis in this game. He has had, he has had more than 20 passing attempts in each of these games, and a lot of times it's because they have a lead, they give up the lead, all of a sudden they're chasing, he's in obvious drop-back situations, all of a sudden he's getting sacked because the offensive line isn't that good in pass pro, and he's not that good when it comes to feeling pressure. Feels like a pretty simple resolution. We'll see if they're good enough to execute it on Sunday. 615-737-1045, the number. Speaking of offensive line, speaking of the Titans run game, can I hear from Titans running back coach Randy Jordan? Actually, Jackson, did you edit this? Your silence is not an answer.
I didn't think he cursed. Did he?
Yeah, he drops an F-bomb in that. So I'm glad that we're going to play that coming up next. O'Reilly Auto Parts is a great place for you. You can unlock your engine's maximum performance with Castrol Edge Full Synthetic. It protects for 20,000 miles between oil changes, 3 times longer than the leading full synthetic motor oil. For a limited time, get 5 quarts of Castrol Edge at O'Reilly Auto Parts and receive 3 times O Rewards points plus a $15 O'Reilly gift card after rebate. O'Reilly Auto Parts is celebrating the 25th anniversary of their famous jingle, and they want you to be a part of the celebration. We all know how the jingle goes, and they want you to submit a cover of the jingle, a remix, or your own choreographed dance. If you do this, you can win exclusive merch and prizes, including 3 $5,000 grand prize winners from O'Reilly Auto Parts. Submit your video to O'ReillyJingleContest.com now through October 31st. Terms and conditions do apply. No purchase necessary. Welcome back to the show. We are fueled by Hattie B's Hot Chicken, 615-737-1045. The number, if you want to get involved, we'd be happy to have you. Talking Titans and Colts here before we get to what we want to see from the Vols versus Florida. 2 huge games, huge football weekend here locally, both fighting for relevance. One in terms of the college football playoff conversation, the other just in terms of local sports interest. You lose this game to the Colts, you lose people's interest, and you're pivoting, you're making the rest of us pivot. Even me as a Titans reporter, like I'll still go to practice every day. I'll still do primetime on the Titans. We'll still do the 615 sessions on the Titans. But the radio show sounds drastically different after week 6 if they don't win this football game. Because you guys are going to stop caring. It's incumbent upon them to realize that. One of Brian Callahan's first sentences in his opening statement or his opening press conference, his introductory press conference was, we want to make Nissan Stadium one of the most fearsome places to play in the NFL. And I understand that every coach should say that. And every coach should try and sell tickets. And every coach should lean into the marketing machine. Because you should. You should. That's just what you should do. But you understand how fickle the relationship between the Titans, the fan base, and with, visiting fans who buy up Titans fans tickets because they can make a profit on it for teams. that as of late, certainly in the last, 2 seasons, and we're 4 games into this Titan season, that haven't delivered on the entertainment value that makes the juice worth the squeeze, because it is expensive to go to NFL football games. And I say that not as somebody who pays to go to NFL football games because I go for work, but, just getting a reminder last night, going to the Preds opener and realizing how much is it for 2 tequila sodas, 2 double tequila sodas? Oh, $70 after tip. They're asking a lot of you to show up, pay that money, sit through, in some cases, inclement weather. Sounds like it's going to be pretty nice, though. It's going to be hot. It's going to be sunny and damn near 90, 88 degrees, according to the Weather Channel, at kickoff for this game. A lot of noon games, a lot of sun, a lot of weather, a lot of cold, all these different things for a football team that's struggling to get off the matter, or, depending on how this game goes, could be a failure to launch. Critical game this week. I want you to, are we good to play the Randy Jordan thing? Did you find the F-bomb? Did you edit the F-bomb?
Found it.
Excellent. Let's hear from, so I mentioned, run the air out of the football. No more than 20 passing attempts for Will Levis. Some of you are saying to me in the F&M Bank chat, and you can call us as well, 615-737-1045. Some of you are complaining, no, that's defeatist. You don't settle with running just because you haven't had to date success throwing the football. It doesn't have to be every week. You have to get your quarterback in a place where he's comfortable. You have to get your quarterback in a place where he's confident. Right now, I've told you this many times, every press conference with him is a psych eval, and now it's become as much about his shoulder as it has about what's in his head. So yes, if you need to make an adjustment this week and slow play this thing, training wheels if you want to, I don't care. As long as you win a football game, I'm good with training wheels. Let's hear from Randy Jordan, the Titans running backs coach, who talked about the success of the ground game and how much more his messaging resounds with his players after a win where you see them put it together.
Yeah, well, I think the biggest thing is, I always tell them, you got to earn the right to have explosive plays. So I'm probably their biggest critic when it comes to finishing. I don't think nobody should tackle these guys in the open field. With the talent and explosives they have, there's nobody in the league that should stop you from getting extra yards if you're one-on-one. And I think it's a mindset, I think it's a mindset that comes with that. So the first thing I tell them, I said, man, they block for 15, you better go get 20. If they block for 40, you better go get 60. And so that's how I grade them in terms of, can you turn that play that was blocked for 10 to 15 or 20.
Same thing I'm imagining when they block for -2 or 0.
Yeah, I tell you, the thing is, I tell them all the time, that play right there was only blocked for -3 yards, but you got 3. That was only blocked for maybe -2, but you got back to the line of scrimmage. Those won't be on ESPN, but as a group, we know that was a fantastic run, turning nothing into something.
How much can a performance like Miami kind of reiterate that message, not just because it was a win, but because what you guys were able to accomplish on the ground?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is just building. And I tell people this all the time. I've been doing this a long time, and guys, Coach Callahan, Callie, all these coaches that we surround ourselves with, and I tell my guys this all the time. When you have success, I become a little bit more believable. Isn't that funny? It's funny, right? I kind of know what I'm talking about. And so it just gave us a little bit of confidence, but we should not be satisfied whatsoever because we hadn't done anything. Because every week it's day-to-day. It's a day-to-day business. And that's the thing I love about it. So we have another chance to show what we're all about.
That's Randy Jordan, the Titans running backs coach, talking about building off the success, easy for me to say, of the Titans ground game from the Dolphins game, and now trying to continue to implement that against the Colts. We have some updates. Brian Callahan, Titans practice just wrapped up for the day. Brian Callahan has met with the media. A few things to note here. Will Levis will start on Sunday. Okay, check that box. Jeffrey Simmons is going to play on Sunday. Check that box. Jamal Adams and Keandre Coburn are out for the Titans against the Colts. So, Jamal Adams, negligible impact. Keandre Coburn, defensive line depth. Pretty important we'll see how long-term that ends up being. Jim Wyatt also notes that Brian Callahan is not naming a starting right tackle. Leroy Watson and NPF both had good weeks, according to the head coach. He has also said that they will not immediately activate linebacker Cedric Gray. Team plans to use most of the 3-week window. So apparently that's a little bit of a slow burn for the rookie off-ball linebacker who is just coming off or has just been designated to return to practice from IR. Phone call, 615-737-1045. The number, let's go to Jack up next.
Well, you rolled over virtually the entire coaching staff. 2/3 of the team is new, and it's an entirely different mindset. I was hoping this would come in sooner than later. I'm not surprised it hasn't. So in the meantime, I'm going to go watch Lamar and Godzilla with the Ravens till they get this sorted out.
So, Jack, you're abandoning ship until such time as they show you their what? What specifically are you looking for, or are you not getting what you were promised?
What they've done is they've rebuilt an engine. They got all the timing marks lined up, but when you start it, it backfires, it coughs, it sputters, and until that thing runs and I can balance a dime on the valve cover, and it gets talked to death. It gets talked to death as if that would fix everything, and it's just got old, so I'm going to take a break for a while.
Okay, Jack. Well, I mean,
since you're not going to watch, you can always listen right here on the Zone to the radio broadcast. That's technically not watching.
I mean, as is your right. Like, you listen. Jack is probably going to get dragged by Titans fans or some Titans fans who would say, well, that's not a real fan, that's a bandwagon fan. And yeah, I mean, that is literally the definition of a bandwagon fan. Hey, I'll tune back in once they're good again. I'm not going to be the one to criticize them for it. Like, just objectively, if you want to wait until they prove something to you, that's kind of the thing that they're up against this weekend, right? Go prove it. Go show Jack and anybody else. And maybe you'll say, Titans fans will say, well, we don't want those people anyway. Well, you need those people. You know what made the Preds 2017 run? Because you know what? The game was fun. The team is fun. The crowd at Bridgestone Arena last night sucked. It's really bad. Like for a home opener when you've had all the hype of this offseason. And it's not because like, I mean, is Nashville a fad sports town?
I think so.
I agree. But like, if you want the atmosphere that you're after, you got to be a fad. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Be a fad, find a way to sustain, make people want to seek you out. You got a million different entertainment. I mean, I know sports fans in the city have heard this time in and time out. Titans fans are probably sick of it. But like, it really resonated with me last night when I'm watching they weren't terribly competitive because the goaltender in the early onset, so I get why the crowd was kind of out of it. But even when there were signs that the Preds offense was going to put them back in this game, it didn't have any juice. So if that's what kind of sports town this is, and that's what kind of sports town this has been, fine. Find a reason for people to tune in, to want to be a part of what you're offering and sustain it. Now, I know that's probably easier to do in the NHL than it is in the NFL because, I mean, the NFL, how long teams really don't last that long as far as making it to the top of it without, Patrick Mahomes or Tom Brady and trying to sustain that way. The Titans probably had a better than average run here with Derrick Henry and Ryan Tannehill and Mike Vrabel. That was pretty sustained over the course of 6 winning seasons before they went 7-3, fired John, or what were they, 7-4, and then fired John, and then the bottom fell out, and they haven't had a winning season since. I get why people don't like bandwagon fans, but I also understand why they're an important part of having the kind of atmosphere that you're lusting after. And then you turn those people in to long-term fans once you've achieved or attracted their attention from the onset. It's a constant year in and year out process. You have to deliver as a product. And right now they haven't. Last call for phone calls. Polls coming up next. I'm Buck Rising. It's 104.5 The Zone. Final segment, for us at least, on a Friday. Don't worry. Got more content coming for you, not just here on the radio station, but I'm going to run over to Titans practice right now, head into the locker room. We'll do a 615 Sessions podcast today at 3:30 with Nick Sussa, the Tennessean. Wrote a really good piece about why Will Levis is not playing like Will Levis anymore. His reporting on that with some context that Brian Callahan provided on, or rather that Will Levis provided on what Brian Callahan is showing him about mistakes that he has made as a quarterback and how common they are so that he can work through them and build on them. Suss had a really good piece in the Tennessean about it, so we'll break that down today on the podcast. Check it out in the A to Z Sports Podcast Network. Also, Lee Company Countdown to Kickoff. You have Titans and Colts on tap. Brad Hopkins, Blaine Bishop, Kayla Anderson, me from 9 till 11. 11 o'clock, Titans Countdown. Noon, the kickoff between those two teams. And Vol Network coverage of the Vols and the Gators at Neyland Stadium. Tomorrow, Jackson, starts at what time?
Coverage starts at 4:30.
4:30 to get you ready for a night game at Neyland between these two teams. Later in the season, so good. I'm excited. Huge football weekend. Please don't let it be the last relevant football weekend locally or I'll scream. Last call for phone calls. If you got them, 615-737-1045. The number. Let's go to Will up next.
Hey, man. So I just was listening to the fair weather fan idea.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been in Memphis when the Titans first came to Tennessee. So I'm just curious. So I remember in the 90s when Chris Carter, Randy Moss, and Randall Cunningham shot up the league, and they were wonderful. I jumped on. I cannot tell you how many sideline toe taps I did on the fact that Randy Moss was toe tipping the sideline. But I'm not rooting for the Minnesota Vikings this year on the basis of that. I mean, if you're not winning, I don't quite understand. So if you could maybe kind of elaborate a little bit more about what a fair weather fan is. I've been a fan of the Titans since 1999. Help me understand this, guys.
Well, I guess just quickly, Will, to flesh that out a little more, are you asking like how we're defining fair weather fans, or are you asking us to explain the mindset of a fair weather fan?
Well, I'm asking if a team captivates me in that moment, right? That's what I'm saying.
I got you.
That team captivated me in that moment. Does that not mean that I can't go out and make or as a 13-year-old or 14-year-old kid say, hey, Mom, I want to go out and get a Randy Moss jersey? You know?
Yeah, no, I'm
but I'm not going to ride with them for the whole way. But I'm just trying to figure out when I hear a previous caller say that, I'm not going to listen to it anymore. I can't remember exactly what he said, but he said, I'm just going to.
He said he's going to watch the Ravens until the Titans get good, is what he said.
And your comment back was, I'm sure you're going to have some Titans fans going to be like, fair weather fan. Now, that is to me. I guess I sit here and I listen to you guys. I love you. I love the show. I know you guys need to get on to some other stuff, but peace out, man. Hey, and listen, hey, don't ever, if you want to spend $70 on a double
vodka or a double tequila soda. I could, well, two.
I got two. If you want to do that, I've got a special place. It's West Tennessee now. You're going to have to take a little drive. I've got a special place where we can do much better than that.
Love to hear it. I was there because of the hockey, though. If you can offer me hockey and tequila, then you got me. So, I mean, yeah, to his point, there's different because, like, Jackson, are you a fan of football players that don't play for the Titans?
Yes.
Yes. I love watching Patrick Mahomes play. Josh Allen is my favorite football player in the league right now because he's Dennis the Menace out there. He's insane.
Ever since I watched Justin Jefferson torch the ghost of Jonathan Joseph, I've been a huge fan.
Was it Jonathan Joseph?
Oh, yeah. You can see him in the background.
Oh.
Malcolm Butler was already off the team. This was
you can see him in the background. I remember rookie Justin Jefferson taking Malcolm Butler for a ride in the COVID season.
He took him off for a ride. It was it was his coming out party, and I've been a fan ever since. I love watching Justin.
Oh, sure.
Jefferson.
Like Derrick Henry. I love watching Derrick Henry with the Ravens right now. I love watching Lamar Jackson. I'm a fan of players all over the league. you can still maintain your team allegiance, but that's not what that last caller, not this most recent one, but the one prior, was alleging. He's saying, yeah, I'm not going to watch the Titans if that's the team that he roots for until they start getting good again. I'll just pay attention to the Ravens. That's different. Okay. Some polls? Yeah. I love that one so much.
These are the polls. They're presented by Two Rivers Ford, the South's most trusted Ford dealer. What was the best thing you saw in sports this week for Friday Fire? Puka chimes in with Mets in the playoffs and Braves out. Karen says watching Alabama lose to Vandy.
Faster. We're running out of time. Faster.
Need some input from you, bud.
No, you don't. Faster.
What are your expectations for the Preds this year? Karen says make the playoffs.
Faster.
Where did the Titans match up best against the Colts? Those are the polls. We skipped two
more
of them.
polls. You've got time. You've got 30 seconds. You're not capable of reading faster?
Where do the Titans match up best against the Colts? Where do the Titans match up worst against the Colts?
And?
That was it.
No.
Oh, there was a Vols one?
What's your level of BVS this week?
What's your level of BVS this week?
What is your level of BVS this week?
You know, I'm feeling shockingly good.
Okay.
I'd put it at a 2.
You sure?
If it was in Gainesville, it'd be a 10.
You should, because the Gators suck, and if you lose to them, we're ripping them on Monday. Lucas is back on Monday. You are very good to stick with me and Jackson throughout the course of the week. We're looking forward to getting back at it. Enjoy the football weekend. Enjoy what is close to the sports equinox. We're not quite there yet, but it's going to be a great weekend across the board. You got Blaine and Zach coming up next.